Good afternoon, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, good afternoon. Good afternoon. We're going to get started here, please. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure and honor to welcome you to the celebratory retirement event for Sheriff Beth Arthur. My name is Jose Quiros, and I will be your host for this ceremony. At this time, I would please ask if everyone could stand for the presentation of colors by the Arlington County Sheriff's Honor Guard and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Colors, hold, present, home.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right shoulder, home. Right face. Forward, move.
Please be seated. It is now my privilege to introduce you to James A. Gondels, Executive Director of the American Correctional Association and Sheriff of Arlington County from 1980 to 1990, to say a few words. Director Gondels.
Thank you. You notice he said a few. It's dangerous to put me on first. You know why? Because I can talk as long as I want and I just jam up the judge and the other sheriff that's going to come and speak, but I'm not going to do that. I came here today to pay tribute to a quiet, taciturn, reserved, and very, very, very unopinionated retiring sheriff. Now, I have on good authority from Joel Lovelace that that's how she is when she's asleep. Not going to be easy on you, Beth. So nearly 75 years ago, just a few feet from where we're standing, Elwood Clements became the sheriff of Arlington, Virginia. And interestingly enough, 100 years ago, his father, A.C., I practiced this and I said ACA 3 times because that's where I work now, ACA, but it's A.C. Clements was the sheriff 100 years ago. So we've come a long way in Arlington County. During the 1968 campaign for President of the United States, the former Attorney General, Bobby Kennedy, used to close many of his speeches by saying, "I see men who look at things and say, why? I dream of things that have never been and say, why not? Why not a woman sheriff?" So I'm here to pay tribute to the first county elected sheriff in the history of Virginia, Beth Arthur, on her retirement. So in 2013, Beth was interviewed in the press. And the reporter asked her, and I'm going to have to read this because it's a long-ass quote. In college, you had no plans to pursue law enforcement. What changed? Here's what Beth said. I moved to Arlington in January 1986 to work in the sheriff's office for a few years, 36 years ago. My goal was to then work for Governor Chuck Robb when he ran for the United States Senate. But by the time his Senate campaign came around, I really liked what I was doing and who I was working with. Wonder who that could be. Sure as hell wasn't me and it wasn't Tom. I had a good job and was making a good income. Moving to a job in the campaign trail or on the Hill would have been taking a step back in both job and pay as a newbie. Well, she's nothing like that congressman-elect from New York, but she could have told a little bit more of the truth. All she had to say is, I stayed in the sheriff's office because of two words, Joel Lovelace. You see, Joel was our budget analyst from the county. Tom was the director of administration. Beth was working for Tom. And anytime the budget analyst came to the Arlington Sheriff's Office, I better stay close to the microphone, we had a problem. And so we only saw the budget analyst maybe once a month, maybe 2 times a month at the most. All of a sudden, we're seeing Joel Lovelace assigned to the sheriff's office 4 or 5 days out of 5 days of working. So I called Tom into my office, true story. And I said, Tom, are we really having a lot of problems with the budget? And Tom said, what do you mean, Jim? And I said, well, damn, every time I turn around, Joel Lovelace is in the office. He said, Jim, I think you're going to hear wedding bells pretty quick from Lovelace and Arthur. Now, if that's not the truth, come up here and tell me it's not. No, stay there. I never said we were smart. So, in spite of Beth working really hard for 36 years for this county, she's been a wonderful wife to Joel Lovelace. And just as importantly, she's been a fantastic mother to 2 outstanding young men, Kenneth and Stephen, graduates of Louisiana State University and the University of West by God, Virginia. And they're both here today, and I know you're going to meet them, but she's done a fantastic job raising those 2 boys, too. So Betty and I are here today to pay tribute to her. Beth, you've done an outstanding job for 36 years. A job well done. Something's wrong with this picture, though. Tom Faust is older than you are, and I'm older than Tom Faust, and we're both still working. What in the world's going on here? But anyway, so Betty and I want you to know we love you. We wish you and your family nothing but the best. God bless you. Job well done.
Thank you, Director Gondels. It is now my privilege to introduce Tom Faust, Director of the D.C. Department of Corrections and Sheriff of Arlington County from 1990 to 2000. Director Faust.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. That was great. You know, it was very tough following Jim Gondels as sheriff. It's tougher following him as a speaker. You know, people say that Jim Gondels tells very tall tales, but as the director of administration at the time, I verify everything he said. It's all true, no tall tale. Just, you know, following up on one piece of that, it was interesting, and as Jim said, you know, he's like, well, what's going on with the budget? And, you know, when Beth first came, I was a little suspicious of her in terms of coming in because she came in as our in-house sheriff's office budget analyst and HR analyst, and she was a graduate of VCU. And I was thinking, now how is it that a graduate of VCU would be into finance and budgeting? That just didn't sound right to me. But because I know Beth's VCU finance class consisted of, how do I get enough money to go to this weekend to all the bars and country music jukeboxes that I can get to? But anyway, seriously though, it's really amazing. And you know, in reading on the program, all I can say is, wow, what a career, what a career. You know, 6 elections won when you include the special election. 22 and a half years as sheriff of Arlington County. She not only lapped Jim and I, she double lapped us in terms of time. The first female county sheriff, as was mentioned in Virginia, the first female president of the Virginia Sheriff's Association. And it goes on. And, you know, Sheriff Gondels mentioned J. Elwood Clements. And when I came on board with the sheriff's office and then later being sheriff, to me, the gold standard, particularly for Arlington County, it was like the gold standard was Sheriff Clements. He had 20 years in as sheriff. Well, now here we are today, and truly the gold standard in Arlington County for sheriff is Beth Arthur. And Beth, I would say it's not, you know, it's what makes Sheriff Beth Arthur special. It's not all the firsts, you know, first this, first that. It's not all the accolades. It's Beth Arthur, the friend, that makes her special. It's Beth Arthur with her commitment to family. It's Beth Arthur with her commitment, undying commitment to her staff through all those years, all the things that she did, fighting for pay equity, all of those things that I know when Jim and I were coming up as sheriffs was like, no way that's going to happen. Beth Arthur made it happen for all of the staff that are here. But always fighting for the staff, always fighting for, you know, those that were in her care in terms of making sure that they had their needs, but just in her overall love for Arlington County. You know, Beth came up through Richmond and ties with Lynchburg, et cetera, but Beth loves Arlington County. And she loves that community, and that's what really makes Beth special. Not all the first this, first that, but her true care for family, her true care for her staff, and her true care for her community. So Beth, wishing you all the best in your retirement. As you say, we're a little jealous. We're still working. But, and I know Beth, I know Joel's been looking forward to this day for a long time. So let me just close. It was funny, I was walking in and it struck me as I was coming in to the Ellen Bosman Government Center, I saw a sign there, and I haven't been around lately, so I had never seen this sign before. But I was coming into the door and it said, "Lead this town, that's women's work." And I thought, how appropriate. Here we are in this building where a sign I saw said, "Lead this town, that's women's work." And that's what Beth, leading this town as sheriff, that's women's work. Congratulations.
Thank you, Director Faust. It is now my privilege to introduce the Honorable Joanne F. Alper, Circuit Court Judge of Arlington County from 1998 to 2012. Your Honor.
Thank you. It's really an honor to be here, to be home in Arlington today, and to be asked to talk about our sheriff and my good friend Beth Arthur. You know, I imagine you heard about when she started working in the sheriff's office and as budget and personnel analyst in 1986, as you heard from Sheriff Gondels. She probably didn't quite expect that when she made that decision to stay, that her career talents and dedication would take her to the career that we are honoring her for today and be sheriff of Arlington County for 22 and a half years. It's interesting, but my son Michael actually met Beth before I did. It was the summer of 1996, and he was working as many kids did as an intern in the sheriff's office. He was a college student. And he came home after his first week, and he told me, there's this woman that working in the sheriff's office, Beth Arthur, who is definitely a force to be reckoned with. And I'm not sure if he said that with admiration or a little intimidation. I'm not quite sure. But he said, she made sure everybody was doing her job and things were running professionally, and you couldn't just hang out and think this was a really cool thing to do for the summer. And then I met her later that summer, and I realized his assessment of her was 100% accurate. She was a force of nature. But I really got to know Beth well when she became sheriff in July of 2000. I was really so proud to be one of the 4 Arlington Circuit Court judges who appointed her to be sheriff when Tom Faust stepped down. Not only was she the first female county sheriff in Arlington, as you know, the first female sheriff in the Commonwealth. And then, as a circuit court judge, I saw the deputies she was putting in our courtrooms. I saw the work that they were doing to keep the courtroom safe, to keep the courthouse safe, even going through training on, hostage taking and things, or we work late at night on scenarios that, I had never seen done before. And in addition, she gets appointed sheriff in July of 2000. She's got to run for election and she's running for election. And also being a wife to Joel, as you heard, and a mother to Kenneth and Stephen, who were then about, I think, not quite 6 and not quite 3. So, you talk about give a woman a job and she'll do it despite everything else. That was Beth. And all the time that she was doing that, at least to the world out there, she was maintaining calm and dignity and carrying out all of her responsibilities at work, on the campaign trail, and at home. Now, about 1 year after Beth became sheriff, our community, the country, faced a tragedy that we had never faced before. September 11th, 2001 is engraved in all of our memories. Anyone who was here that day, anyone who was alive that day, of any descent in age, remembers that. I remember I was driving into the courthouse, and I heard of the first plane crash, and it's just an accident. Get upstairs to chambers on the 12th floor, heard about the second one, not an accident. And as we're watching in the 12th floor of the courthouse with the view of the river and the cemetery over there, the Pentagon hidden by the trees, we felt the building shake. We saw the smoke, and then we heard the noise, and we knew, anyone who knew immediately what had happened. And what happened then, I would say within 15 minutes, Beth had that courthouse cleared, close everything down, clear the courthouse, send everybody on their way so that, no one knew where the targets were or anything else, but more importantly, those deputy sheriffs and police officers didn't need to be in courtrooms. They needed to be down there at the Pentagon. And that's what those people, for the next 2 days, all of the efforts of all of law enforcement in this area and elsewhere were trained on that, and that's what Beth was supervising and controlling. And what was interesting is, unlike most of the courts around here that were only closed for a day, we were closed for 2 days. And I remember we reopened on Thursday and actually was in the middle of a criminal jury trial with a jury that was out. And we came back 2 days later. I looked around the courtroom, and there were deputies from all over Northern Virginia, from Prince William, from Stafford, I remember, from Fairfax, from Spotsylvania. Those deputies, those sheriffs in those communities worked with Beth to get deputies so that our courts could run up and be staffed during those days. The collaboration and community work that she was able to put together to not only deal with what was going on, to not only give support to her deputies who were going through the emotional trauma of working down there, and also to keep our courts running. If anyone doubted her leadership ability before then, there was no doubt after that date. I want to talk a little bit about the management of the jail, and that's such an important part of Beth's job. And the things she did over the course of the years that I was able to observe from my viewpoint handling criminal cases, the vocational training she did in the jail, the visits, the support for parents who were incarcerated to see their children, and most notably, I point to the ACT unit, I know which was started earlier, but was really took off under Beth Arthur, the Alcohol Corrections Treatment Unit. It is a 37-week program that, if you don't know anything about it, from my perspective, is in the 14 years that I was on the circuit court, was the most effective tool we had. We had people, I'd have people come into court who had criminal convictions, who were on probation, who had failed in drug, substance abuse training, treatment elsewhere. I'd order them into the ACT unit, often kicking and screaming. They didn't like it. I could hear as they're going back to the lockup, I heard some of the commentary, which I expected. That was fine. But then when they came back, I invited them back when they finished, if they finished the program successfully, to come back and say, what did you think of this? Well, how was the program? How did it help you? And almost to a person, they would say, thank you, I didn't want to go, thank you for sending me there, it worked. That is a tribute, and the recidivism rate, from my recollection, at least when I was on the bench, is much lower there than in some other programs that were out there in the community. And they praised the staff, and they praised the program, and I give great tribute to Sheriff Arthur for that program, for how it worked, and how it still works. Now, in 2012, you heard that Beth was elected and was the first female sheriff, president of the Virginia Sheriff's Association. And she asked me to come down to Virginia Beach, I think it was Virginia Beach, it was Tidewater, to administer the oath of office to her, and I was absolutely honored to do that too. And what was amazing to me is to see her with her other colleagues around the Commonwealth, and to see the respect and esteem in which she was held was absolutely amazing to see, and I was glad to be able to see it firsthand. She was held in extraordinarily high regard by her sheriff colleagues. I said earlier that Beth is my friend, and we bonded first over our shared love of Washington Capitals hockey. I'm surprised there weren't any pictures up here of the two of us at the first ever Hockey and Heels, which was the Washington Capitals event, probably in the mid 2006 or 7 or somewhere in there, to get women more interested in hockey. And so Beth and I got tickets. We went down there. It was down at what was then, I guess, the Verizon Center, and they had exercises for us on the ice with the players, and then there was cocktails and food afterward with the players. And Beth and I, and neither of us can find the picture right now, but Beth and I gravitated to the hunkiest player on the Caps, not the best, but the best looking, Brooks Like. And we got our pictures taken, and we followed him for years until he went off and married some Hollywood star. But in any event, but Beth, with all that, Beth was really serious about the game of hockey, and also on top of being sheriff, a wife, a friend, a mom, she was a serious hockey mom. Both boys, both Stephen and Kenneth, played hockey throughout middle and high school, and she'd be there cheering him on. You know, I even went to some of their games, some of their high school games with her. And then the culmination of that was when I went with Joel and Beth and the boys on a road trip to Pittsburgh for the Winter Classic in 2010, December of 2010. And what was interesting is my kids, of course, were older than Kenneth and Stephen, and we're talking about the fact that when my kids went to high school, grew up in Arlington, went to high school, there was no hockey. Nobody played hockey around here, you know. There wasn't even an ice skating rink unless you went out to Fairfax, or there might have been one in Alexandria. Well, and we had the most hilarious time. Great travels, great fun, and the Caps won the game, which was also nice. But it was an amazing trip, and it just showed me what an amazing family they are. And as a woman, as a mom, and as a professional, I know Beth feels like I do. She would never have been able to do it all, as we say, without the strong and unwavering support of her husband, Joel. Joel was always there for the Lord High Sheriff, and she could not have done it without his support. And they have together raised two amazing young men, and I know that Kenneth and Stephen are their proudest accomplishments. Beth, as you go forward in retirement, traveling with Joel and watching Kenneth and Stephen grow and build their careers and their families, I want to leave you with this Irish blessing. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face, the rains fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hands. Thank you for everything you've done, and congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you, Judge Alper. It is now my privilege to introduce Mr. John Jones, Executive Director of the Virginia Sheriff's Association, to say a few words.
Greetings from the Virginia Sheriff's Association, from the sheriffs from Bristol to the Eastern Shore. I'm here representing every one of them, and it's coming from their heart, and I'm honored to do that. I first met Beth when she was working as a staffer for the governor and got to know her a little bit, and Faust called me one day. He said, I've got some news for you, and you need to sit down. Well, I was walking down the street, and he says, I'm going to be leaving, and Beth Arthur will be the new sheriff. And I'm thinking, woohoo, that's wonderful. I can't wait. I knew Beth, and I looked so much forward to having her as a member of the Virginia Sheriff's Association. So she was the first female president of the Virginia Sheriff's Association, elected unanimously by her peers at our conference. And before you become president, you become treasurer. And those sheriffs around the state, you know, they're from Southwest Virginia, they're from the mountain areas, they're from the Eastern Virginia. They watch. And then you become secretary, and they elect you again. And then you become second vice president. It takes 5 years to get to the presidency of the Virginia Sheriff's Association, and it's not guaranteed. And when she got there, she was elected unanimously. So she served as president. And when I think about the presidents of the association, I think, well, what about those years? What happened when Beth was president? And two things come to mind. One is we had a tough situation in the General Assembly. All of the advocates came to town to advocate for pregnant prisoners. And it was so perfect to have Beth as my president because she was the only sheriff that had been through a pregnancy. And she could sit at the table on our side of the table, and she was the only sheriff on the committee that could relate to the issue. And really what happened in that General Assembly and what passed, all good things came out of advocating for pregnant prisoners, and the compassion that came out and the legislation that resulted is still in place. The second thing that comes to mind when Beth was president was I'm sitting in my office and I get a call from the sheriff in Halifax County. We had just had a county sheriff's race, and there had been a wrongful death lawsuit going on, and he was the candidate for sheriff then, and he got elected. He inherited the lawsuit, and now he's the defendant. And there was a verdict, and the verdict was $4 million on his wrongful death, and our liability insurance from the state risk management was $1 million. And they looked around and they figured out, well, the sheriff's farm and the house can be on the table here. So that sheriff called and he said, my God, John, I had no idea this could happen. I said, you know, I didn't even, Beth was president, I called, I said, you know, what do we got? She said, we got to put a bill in and fix it. So as a result of that, we did put a bill in and fix it. And now sheriffs and all the deputies around the state that's still in place are protected on these state lawsuits at up to $1.5 million, and state lawsuits more than $1.5 million are set aside the verdict. So we have lasting protection from your leadership, and that'll never be forgotten. She is respected and considered a professional by all of the sheriffs around the state, and we can always count on Beth to do the right thing no matter the political climate, no matter what the wind was. Call her and say, you know, we got this issue here, what do you think? And it didn't matter what the politics was. She told you right from the gut what you need to be doing, and it was always the right thing, and we did it. So after you serve as president of the Virginia Sheriff's Association, you get on the nominating committee. I don't think Beth really wanted to get on the nominating committee, but I pushed it, and she was like, I said, you know, we got to have the right people to come in. She was the gatekeeper. of the sheriffs that came in to be leaders in the Sheriff's Association for the past 10 or 12 years, and we're going to miss her. So what I'd like to do is I've got a token of appreciation from the members of the Virginia Sheriff's Association, but I want to say on behalf of all Virginia sheriffs, I wish you the best and a well-deserved retirement and as we present that token. And I want everyone to know that we have the utmost respect for Beth, and it's going to leave a void in the fabric of the Virginia Sheriff's Association. Step up here, Beth. I want to give you this. So this is from the members of the Virginia Sheriff's Association, presented to Sheriff Beth Arthur, Arlington County, in sincere appreciation for outstanding leadership and dedication to the office of sheriff and the citizens of the Commonwealth of Virginia, presented today, January 6, 2023. Thank you so much. And in closing, I want to say that Melvin and I extend an invitation to come by the Eastern Shore anytime you want to.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. At this time, we'll have some presentations, and first up, I'll ask Chief Andy Penn of the Arlington County Police Department to please come forward. Chief.
Good afternoon. It's my great honor to be here today as we celebrate the long and distinguished career of Sheriff Beth Arthur. 37 years of committed service, elected sheriff 6 times, 22 and a half years of service. Truly a remarkable and impressive career. I wanted to take one moment and just speak to the Beth's family. Having a loved one in public safety, particularly law enforcement, is a very challenging thing to go through. There's missed events, missed birthdays, long hours. So you too have served this community. So thank you as well for your service. Very much appreciated. As you've heard, Beth truly served this community and the sheriff's office with distinction, professionalism, and great commitment. One thing that I was thinking about what I would say is to sum up Beth and its passion. You know, Sheriff Gondels pointed out that she didn't have opinions and was quiet most of the time. That really hadn't been my experience. But I always appreciated and respected the amount of passion that Beth had for the work that she did and her care and commitment to serve her staff and the community with great professionalism. I was very fortunate to have the opportunity to work with Beth throughout the years, and it was always very clear to me that people are at the heart of the decisions that Beth makes. She always works to find the best outcome for everyone involved, and that's been clear consistently in all my interactions with Beth. Equally clear was her deep and long-lasting commitment to the sheriff's office and everyone who worked there. And there's great passion from Beth to make sure that her agency was top-notch and that she did everything she could for her employees to make sure that everyone was successful, and that's a sign of a true leader. So I'm going to be brief. I have something I want to present Beth with, but I wanted to pause and thank you for your service to this community and to your agency, to thank you for your great partnership and collaboration with the police department. It takes a village to really provide public safety to a community, and you've always been there as a partner, and that's much appreciated. And finally, I want to thank you for your friendship. It's been an honor to work with you. I've enjoyed our lunches, our conversations, particularly the ones where maybe you spun up a little bit. Those were always the most fun. But Beth, you leave behind an incredible legacy that you should be incredibly proud of. The work that you've done here has truly had an impact and made a positive difference in many people's lives. And with that, you should be incredibly proud. So on behalf of myself and the men and women of the Arlington County Police Department, I want to thank you for your incredible service, congratulate you on an outstanding career, a job well done, and wish you all the best in the next chapter of your life. in appreciation of your distinguished public service and unwavering support of the Arlington County Police Department.
Thank you, Chief Penn. At this time, I'd ask Chief Mary Gavin of the Falls Church Police Department to please come forward. Thank you, Chief. Hey.
Well, first, I want to thank the Sheriff's Office for allowing me to come up and say a few words. I'm standing up here with a lot of hats on. First and foremost, I'm here as an executive board chair for the Northern Virginia Criminal Justice Academy, which Beth worked very hard in as the executive committee. She also worked very hard with the Northern Virginia chiefs and sheriffs. There's 23 of us throughout this region that we meet every month. I'm also standing here as the City of Falls Church Police Chief and peer of Beth's, and a grateful peer for her service to the little city. And lastly, a resident of the county. So I wanted to just recognize there are 23 chiefs and sheriffs in this region that meet every month that work on the public safety infrastructure, the people, places, and things that we support in this region. And we collectively here as a group formulate all of the safety plans for this region, and Beth has a huge part in that, and she has had that for a long time. We're here to proclaim collectively and individually that we're indebted to the service and sacrifice of our dear friend Beth Arthur. To all the local chiefs and sheriffs, she is that tenacious advocate for the various disciplines of public safety, but especially for the sheriffs. I hope you hear this, because in the board meetings, she is tenacious about her people. She's tenacious about corrections, court security, community service, and everything that you all do. We all know Beth as the face of Arlington. She is Arlington's biggest and best advocate for the Democratic Party, for the community, for public safety service, for the Washington Capitals, for the Nats. And her number one passion is her family, Joel, her husband, and her sons, Kenneth and Steve. The love, the respect, and the admiration for her family has no boundaries. We see this in the board meetings. We know this from her. She is that unabashed, enthusiastic mom filled with joy about her family. She has many, many accomplishments with her family. She is that rabbit, SEC, LSU Tiger mom. I'm an SEC Old Miss Hotty Toddy mom. So we had some battles in the boardroom. She is that Big 12 Conference, University of West Virginia Mountaineer mama. She is the Arlington hockey mom, and she wears it very well, very loudly, and very proudly. I know and we know, and we have been the recipients of her spirit, and it has been our good fortune to be part of Beth's experience and journey. We tip our collective hats and celebrate your stellar 37 years of your working life here. Beth's career is littered with all kinds of accomplishments that you've heard, but I just wanted to touch base on the mission of a sheriff as a police chief. It's a complex one, and it's like the old Chinese proverb yin yang. You oversee and protect the best in the criminal justice system, all the while keeping an eye and a lid on the evil that lurks within our society. And the yin and the yang is just that. It's that two interconnected opposing forces which balance the scales of life. And it plays out in the sheriff's mission each and every day in every aspect of your job. Because regardless what you are confronted with, they ensure that the human rights are protected and balanced at the highest level. The sheriff's mission is to secure and uplift those that do not have a platform, the downtrodden that sometimes do not have a voice, they have no hope, and are dismissed by society, oftentimes by their own actions. And at the same breath, your service is to protect and hold society's most violent individuals from the innocent to ensure an equitable and safe society. The sheriffs are the guardians of the people's dignity in the most vulnerable and desperate times. It may be a suffering victim or a violent offender. It's a complex and heavy burden that you bared. I have bared witness of the sheriff's yin-yang mission. Many times in my career, watching from afar or really close up, I watched the sheriff's department perform their quiet guardianship of the most revered judges, protection, and the most vile and violent offenders. Being the witness, peer, and partner is humbling because it's so impressive, Beth. I know this plays out every day in the community, in the courtrooms, and in the jail cells, but I have never been so proud of seeing you all in action for the little city when we had the biggest trial of our history. The deputies were in the protecting the courtroom, in that case, of a subject on trial for sexual assaulting several children in our community. There was an intense community interest like no other. There were at least several small children that were both witnesses and victims, standing up to what they know now to be a powerful and manipulative man that is a convicted child molester. The deputies in that case understood the weight of the community's concerns and all the moving parts that were securing justice. As the case came to the final stage, it was an incredible, powerful moment for all involved that were invested. What I knew is where the community was on the bubble of a watershed moment. It was one of those cases where everyone in the courthouse stopped what they were doing, came into the assigned courtroom to bear witness to the verdict. But all I saw and all I felt in that courtroom was the Arlington County deputy sheriffs. That team of deputies made an incredible, powerful statement in their silent but subtle way. The deputies tactically positioned themselves in a swarm throughout that courtroom. They strategically ensured peace and the respect for all to ensure justice was delivered in a peaceful and dignified manner. Your team, Beth, your team had the full attention of all the threats that were posed in that courtroom for the judges, for the commonwealths, for the community members, for the media, for the witnesses, for the families, for the children. The stakes were high, the tension could be cut with a knife. But it was your sheriff's office, Beth, and your team lead that I saw in that moment. It was heartwarming, it was reverent, and it revealed the top-notch professionalism the brothers and sisters we work with every day. It speaks to Beth's leadership and her tenacity. We do not say it enough as a public safety team, but we thank you for your quiet, dignified service to all. It matters, and it often goes unnoticed and overlooked because it's seamless and it's safe. And we see you, and we feel how you make us feel safe. Beth, you've been the most tenured commander in the collective chiefs and sheriffs in the Northern Virginia area for years now. And we're better people, and we're a safer region because of it. The collective work and labor of love you have amassed in this county is permanent and immeasurable. So I leave you with an Irish blessing. It's different. Thank God I came up with another one. But I am Irish. So may you enjoy as many blessings in your retirement as you have bestowed upon us in your career. May God bless you and keep you, for your family to persevere. Godspeed to you, my dear friend, and may the next chapter be the very best. I have a small plaque for your...
Me to read it, I have my glasses on.
Says Sheriff Beth Arthur, for your outstanding contributions and leadership from the Northern Virginia Criminal Justice Training Academy and the community of Northern Virginia Chiefs and Sheriffs, January 20th, 1986, January 6, 2023. In perpetual gratitude, forever grateful.
Thank you, Chief. At this time, I'd ask for Arlington County Board Chair Christian Dorsey to please come forward. Mr. Dorsey.
Good to see you. Good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to grab what will seem wholly inadequate after these wonderful gifts and presentations that have been afforded our guest of honor here, to read a recognition on behalf of my colleagues in the county board. And could my colleagues on the board please stand? They're scattered throughout the room. You know, for those of you who are not aware, it's a rare occasion that the five of us are in one room at one time when we don't have to be, when we don't have a meeting. And we all voluntarily came because this, for all of us in our tenures as board members, it's the first time we will be in a room with Sheriff Beth Arthur where she can't ask us for anything. But even if she decides to ask for something, we're not going to be under any obligation to fulfill it. So that was the draw to get everybody. No, I'm kidding. Really, for us, this was a day that we couldn't miss because we have valued very much having Beth Arthur as sheriff in our county, as someone that we could work with, but more importantly, someone who was on the front lines of helping keep our community safe. And so I'd like to read a brief recognition, and then, if you'll indulge me, a few personal remarks. So the recognition reads, whereas Elizabeth Beth Arthur began her career in Arlington County as the Budget and Human Resources Analyst for the Sheriff's Office in 1986, and whereas, as you've heard through her bio, promoted to the Director of Administration, and then, of course, winning 6 elections, including a special election beginning in the year 2000, and whereas Sheriff Arthur was not only the first female sheriff in Arlington County, but also the first female sheriff in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and became the first woman to occupy a board position within the Virginia Sheriff's Association, and the association's first female president, and whereas former governors Warner and Kane appointed Sheriff Arthur to the Virginia Department of Criminal Justice's Services Board, where she served for 8 years and served as chair from 2005 to 2010. And whereas Sheriff Arthur's professional memberships include the National Sheriff's Association, the Virginia Sheriff's Association, the American Correctional Association, the American Jail Association, and whereas Sheriff Arthur has been the recipient of numerous awards, including the Arlington Bar Foundation William L. Winston Award, the Leadership Arlington Legacy Award, and the Martin Luther King Jr. Award for Community Service, and the Arlington County Commission on the Status of Women's 2002 Person of Vision Award. Now, therefore, I, Christian Dorsey, Chair of the County Board of Arlington, Virginia, do hereby laud and recognize on the 6th day of January 2023, Sheriff Beth Arthur for her fierce dedication, compassion, and unceasing hard work in serving Arlington County and its residents for nearly 4 decades. To ensure that Arlington remains a secure and caring community. Congratulations, Beth. It will be my honor to present you this ceremonial certificate in recognition of that. All right. But before I give up the microphone, I was actually told this was a roast, so I have a couple of other things to say. You know, a fun fact that not many people know, but in 2001, there was a then fledgling leadership program in Arlington County that I believe was putting together its 3rd or 4th class, and Sheriff Beth Arthur was in that class. And as it turns out, 2 other individuals were in that class who would someday become elected officials in Arlington County, Ingrid Maroy and yours truly. And another fun fact, 2023 marks the year that all 3 of us will conclude our public service to Arlington County. And through that, getting to know Beth when she was still a relatively young sheriff, it was immediately clear that this was a special force of nature. Someone who just impressed at every turn with her tenacity, with her passion, with her intellect, and she was incredibly fun to be around. Someone who I looked forward to seeing every month when we had our leadership activities. And fast forward a while later, when I got married, and my wife, one of the things that she has long held to is this incredible admiration for Beth Arthur, because she is similarly, how shall I describe it? Compact, petite, vertically challenged, however you want to say it. Well, my wife is amazed at how Beth has a commanding presence in every forum that she's in, and that she's serving in this role that is not traditionally one that has been open to or attractive to women. So she wanted me to find out, and she asked, how did she actually come to be involved in law enforcement? And I admitted I didn't know the answer. So I am very happy tonight for all the speakers who have shed light on how Beth came into this role. I will fulfill my duty of giving good intel for my wife. But beyond that, really what I'd like to say is, Beth, your service that we listed, all of the accolades and accomplishments, that's one thing. That's your CV, that's your resume. But I'd like to give a little bit of insight into what it's really been like for the impact of your service on our community. For those of you who don't know, the county board has no oversight of the sheriff's office. It's a separate constitutional office, but we try to work collaboratively. And frequently what that means is Sheriff Arthur will come to the board with ways in which we need to give her more resources to do what it is she wants to do. But while that's a common story, Beth never asks for things that are solely designed to make her life easier. It's always about other people, whether it's increased pay for her deputies, uniforms for her deputies because they haven't been replaced for years, equipment to ensure that contraband can't get in that's going to cause overdoses among those who are in her custodial care. The requests are never about what can we do to make her life easier. It's how can we improve the opportunities for her to provide the best possible care for those that those who are entrusted to her. And it's incredibly impressive to know that time and time again, Beth advocates for those with an equal degree of passion. She loves her deputies, she loves her staff, but she also loves those who are remanded in their care and wants to make sure that there's a dignity to their incarceration and that there is an opportunity for them to remain connected to their families so that there is a possibility that maybe at some point things can turn out better for all of them. And so, Beth, your career, all of the accolades, it is worthy of respect. And that is what that recognition is designed to convey. But when you go above and beyond and bring the level of passion and care that you have brought for almost 40 years, that's worthy of admiration. And I'd like to say on behalf of my colleagues, we admire the heck out of you, and we wish you and the family the best in your retirement. In my opinion, it's coming a little bit too soon. I think you have more to give, but retirement is one of those things that we shouldn't be sad about. And so if I could offer an Irish blessing. May your troubles be less, may your blessings be more, and may nothing but happiness come through your door. Congratulations, Beth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dorsey. At this time, it is the Sheriff's Office turn to present Sheriff Arthur with a small token of appreciation, and it's not quite small, so we have the entire honor guard team to lift this thing up. So Sheriff Arthur, here's your shadow board, and this is a tradition that we do in the law enforcement community when someone retires. These are a collection of mementos, badges, and this is on behalf of the entire Sheriff's Office, the men, women, sworn, civilian, everyone that works for you. We love you. We have two more things here. We also have a collection of all the badges of the office from Deputy Sheriff 1 all the way through Sheriff, with our patches throughout history here. And last but not least, the retirement badge. This is what I think you want. The retirement badge. And now I introduce our Sheriff, Beth Arthur.
Thank you. That's been drank out of. This hasn't been open. Sure. What are you trying to say, I'm short?
No.
Does it go, Laura? Look at that. First of all, Christian, if you think you're getting out of this room, board members, without me asking for something for my people, you're wrong. I'm always going to ask for my people. All right, first, I've been instructed by my dear friend, Mrs. Robb, to make sure I introduce my family, which I was going to do. But Joel, my husband Joel, who has, well, I'll talk about him a little bit, Kenneth and Stephen. Joel's told me it can't be a ball baby. Too bad. I'm going to be a ball baby. It's going to happen. I walked around the office all day today crying. Every time I talk to somebody, I just hug them and say, I can't talk to you. Got to go. My mom is here, Kay Matthews. And at least 2 rows here of family members who I'm going to talk about in just a second. It's crazy. When I came to work here, January of 1986, Jim Gondles, thank you. I'll talk about that story in a minute. And our friend Ben Dindy in the governor's office. But it's hard to believe at the blink of an eye, 36 years has gone by. It's really crazy. For all of you people, I always tell new hires, you know, I thought I was going to stay here for a couple of years, and no disregard Senator Robb to working in the campaign. I did volunteer in the campaign, even though I didn't leave and join the campaign. But it's been an amazing career, and it's an amazing place to work. And it is because of my people. You all do amazing work every single day for this community. And don't you ever let anybody think that you don't. You really stand tall and you serve this community really well. So thank you, all of you, for everything that you do every day. And you've helped make me look good, and I appreciate it. They're my people, and you'll always be my people. So, I thank the citizens of Arlington County for giving me the opportunity 22 years ago to serve as the sheriff of Arlington County. It has been an amazing career, and I outlasted Tom and Jim times 2, right? 1 in each of you. But it's been an honor and a privilege, and I can't say it enough. Jim, Tom, Judge Alper, Thank you for your kind words. Not you so much, Jim, but I knew you were going to give me a hard time. I literally, for 36 years, have not walked into a room or done anything with Jim that there is not some poking between the two of us, as anyone from ACA can attest to. As I serve on the Board of Governors and the Executive Committee with Jim, and everybody looks around going, what is going on with you all that don't necessarily know how long we've known each other and I work for Jim, so it is fairly humorous. John, thank you so much, and Melba, for being here today. You know how much I love you, and I'm coming to the Eastern Shore. I love the Eastern Shore. I see you posted on Facebook. One of these days I'm gonna knock on your door and say, hey, Joel and I are here for a boat ride. Or just to hang out in the calm quiet of the Eastern Shore. Andy Penn, where did you go, my friend? Thank you. It has been an honor and a privilege to serve with you and the men and women of the Arlington County Police Department for the last 36 years. We have a great team in this community, and so thank you for your friendship and thank you for your kind words. Mary Gavin, where's Mary? Thank you, Mary. Mary didn't mention that she used to be a police officer in Arlington, so we've known each other for a very, very long time, and had the opportunity to serve with each other on the board. And for all the men and women in blue, black, brown, whatever color you wear that serve our communities, keep us safe. Thank you for your service to our communities. My friend, Christian Dorsey, thank you. And to the members of the county board and my other elected colleagues in Arlington, thank you very much. It's been a privilege and an honor to serve with all of you. Katie Crystal, who's back there, who's just our immediate past chair of the board. Last year, she and I kind of raised my voice a little bit at her, and she said, you don't have to yell at me. And I said, this is not me yelling at you. This is me talking with passion about my people. I probably was raising my voice just a little bit, but it's about the people. So anyway, I want to thank you. And for Senator and Mrs. Robb, for you being here, I cannot begin to tell you how much it means to me. But both that you're both here with us, we're all thankful for that. But more importantly, for the leadership and friendship and mentorship that the two of you have provided to so many people that volunteered somewhere along the way to help see you become the Lieutenant Governor, Governor, United States Senator. You have always been there for all of us, both of you, and shared your family with us. And so thank you very much. I appreciate that. If you did not receive an invitation to this event, it is Major Jimmy Barrett's fault. But having said that, I'm not blaming you, Betsy, but the two of you, thank you very much, Betsy Waldeck and Jimmy Barrett, for putting this together. I really appreciate it, more than I can say. So before I get to my family, I'm going to tell the story of Jim Gondles. I don't know if it was whatever the fate was, but thank you for hiring me. He comes into the governor's office one day, and while Tom Faust is a very quiet person, Jim Gondles nor I are. And he comes in, and I'm in the next room, and he's in there waiting to see our good friend Ben Dindy, who's here. And I hear him talking to somebody, and I'm intrigued, and I walk around, and I start talking to him and ask very inappropriate questions. He's talking about his salary being in the paper, and I ask him what it is. Now, is anybody surprised at that, conversation? But that is how I met Jim and ended up, looking for a job to come to Northern Virginia, and came up and interviewed with Jim, and he gave me the opportunity to come to work in the sheriff's office. So thank you, my friend, very much. Poor Tom had to sit in an office that was about this big. We had 5 file cabinets, a desk, a typewriter, and a desk. Again, Tom is quiet, not so much. Finally, one day, I'm talking on the phone to people, and they can't understand whatever my name is. He goes, why do people keep calling you Dot? Why do you keep saying Dot? This is not Dot, it's Beth. And so Tom forever called me Dot. I don't know where they ever got Dot from Beth, but at any rate, thank you, Tom, for the opportunity as well to continue serving as the sheriff's office, but most importantly, to the two of you for seeing the vision that I didn't see for me to serve as sheriff of this community. So thank you for that. I will be forever grateful for the opportunity that you both, showed in the whatever, I can't think to say. But thank you for that. Judge Alper, what she failed to tell you about our little road trip to Pittsburgh was that we have a van. If anybody's ever been on a road trip with me, it's packed full. I asked her how much room she needed. She told me she had that much space. She got in that car and she had enough room to get in her seat. We put her 2 bags in the back and she was like, I mean, you know, she's traveling in a Mercedes, not a Chrysler minivan on most of her road trips. So we had a blast. It was so much fun. And plus we got to beat Pittsburgh. But she fit in, she fit perfectly in and we had a grand time. Joel, and let's see if I can do this without crying. When I came home in the spring of 2000 and told you Tom Faust was retiring and wanted me to run for sheriff, Tom says, by the way, to me, you can't tell anybody. I have to go home and talk to Joel. Well, you can talk to Joel. Thank you. I'm thinking in my mind, this is insane. Our kids are barely 3 and 6. For anybody that knows, Stephen was a little sickly when he was a baby, and we had sort of finally weathered our storm on that, and they were not 6 and 3, they were about to turn. And he never flinched, he never batted an eye, and I have told this story before, but he looked at me and he said, you have to take the opportunity because if you don't, it may never come along again. So thank you. When we talk about our kids, Mary has 2 girls and they went to Ole Miss. I can't help that, but you know, we talked a little bit about the SEC and all that, but you two, you know how much I love you. Could not be more proud of who you are, and the 2 of you. Just couldn't be. Love you. To the moon and back. Grace, we're so happy to have you as part of our family. Jim and Marilyn Lovelace, and to the Lovelace clan that are here, thank you for embracing me. And Jim, I know you've given me a hard time for the last 30 years often, but I appreciate it and I love you. And Marilyn, thank you as well. I love you too. My mother, Kay Matthews, who's over here, who raised 4 amazing daughters. 2 of my sisters are here. Not just me, we're all amazing. I'm just going to say it. You know? She was a single mother, and she beat in our brain that we all had to go to college, and we all 4 did go to college, and we all got college degrees. But thank you, Mom. We know it wasn't easy. We know we're not always easy still, but you know, that's just part of the whole process, I guess. But thank you very, very much. If anybody wants to know where I get my tenacity from, and talk to this woman and my aunts that I'm going to introduce you to. So we were blessed and have been very blessed with having an amazing extended family. My late grandmother, Granny B, who many of you probably heard me talk about. The worst thing about this job is she died a few months before I became sheriff. I mean, that was the worst thing that was about it, because she would have been proud. She was so proud of all of her kids and her grandkids. My aunts, Frankie Farmer and Louise Ware, who are sitting here, thank you very much for everything that you do for all of us and our families. We could not all do it together. My cousin Scott is out here with his wife, Lindsay, and just, we've been blessed with a crazy, fun family. I know, Ben, you can say it, sometimes really crazy, but they are awesome. And the truth is probably if it hadn't been for Louise, who for all of our political people who never knew anything about pre-GOTV and our registered voter list, Louise had us going through a telephone book in Lynchburg, Virginia, literally calling people about voting for George McGovern in a presidential campaign. She had us knocking on people's doors. These were blind knocking on people's doors, not that we knew you were registered to vote. And that's how most of us cut our teeth in politics, at least from my generation in the family. So I suspect that without Louise dragging us all into doing that, I probably wouldn't be standing here today, because I wouldn't have ended up meeting some of the amazing people that I have along the way, to include the Robs and Ben Dindy, our good, dear family friend. So thank you for that, Louise. So, as I said, if you wonder where I get my sass and my loud voice and my, just talk to any of my family, you'll figure it out in 5 minutes. I was in a bar in New York one time at a Democratic convention, and somebody said, well, you sound just like, and I'm like, yeah, she's standing over there in the corner. We all have the same voice. We're all loud. So, anyway, to my, again, John, for the Sheriff's Association, to my good friend Betsy France back there, Leadership Arlington, to all my friends that we made along the way in that class of Leonard Hamlin, who's back here, a class of 03, second to none. What an amazing organization and a way to meet amazing people in this community. My hoodsters, there's lots of hoodsters here, people from our neighborhood. that we just have such a great neighborhood. And, you know, Joel wants to move, y'all can just, you know, it's not gonna happen. We're staying in the neighborhood. It's too good of a neighborhood. As I said, to the men and women of the Arlington County Sheriff's Office, up today and yesterday, and I have some friends that have come from a bit of a distance to be here today to celebrate with me. So thank you very much for doing that. And I'm not gonna call you out because I'll miss somebody and then y'all be mad at me. So I'm not gonna do it. As I said, you guys do amazing work every single day. And I could not do what I do, and I have often laughed and said that my job is to beg and grovel for money and resources so that you can do your job. And so thank you for what you do, for what you have done for me for the last 22 plus years as sheriff, but what you do every day for this community. I appreciate it, I thank you, and I think you deserve a round of applause for what you do. You are truly what has made the Arlington County Sheriff's Office the best job, literally, in the entire world. And that's why I don't understand why the two of you left. See, you could, you know, great job. I mean, awesome job. All right, to my friends on the county board. So you thought you were going to wave. And I don't know if the manager's sitting in here, but hi, Mark. Don't you forget these men and women when you do this budget for FY 2024. I've worked here for 36 years, and for 36 years I've heard we don't have any money. Just saying. Literally. 36 years. I've worked in the budget every year for 36 years. These men and women deserve to be recognized for what they do every single day. So that's my pitch, and I'm not leaving without saying it. To the judiciary that's here, thank you all very much for being here today to celebrate with me. I appreciate everything that you all do to ensure the safety of our community, and I appreciate the opportunity that I've had to work with all of you, so thank you very much. All right, just a couple things. You know, people touched on me being the first female sheriff, county sheriff in Virginia, and I, you know, I never thought much about it. It was like when they came to me to run, what do I grew up in a house full of women. We just do whatever you got to do. And I remember Mrs. Robb telling me she was concerned about me running as a female as sheriff 22 years ago. She said, even in Arlington, I'm worried about that. And on election night, when it didn't turn out to be such a good night for you all election night, but I came to the hotel to try to see everybody because I wanted to be there for you. You looked at me and said, you won every precinct in Arlington County. I had no idea I had won every precinct in Arlington County. Thank you. That just tells you, again, about these amazing, amazing servants of our community. So I literally didn't know that, but I do know that when I ran and won in 2019, to all my friends out here, 2 of you serve on the board, that I did get the highest number of votes of anybody on the ballot that year. Touche, right, Jeff? At any rate, today in Virginia, I was not the first female sheriff. We had 2 female sheriffs when I became sheriff, Richmond and Charlottesville. But today, at 12 o'clock, we won't. But right this minute, we have 9 female sheriffs in Virginia. And I think that says a lot about us. And as I've served on the Northern Virginia Criminal Justice Training Academy for the last 22 years. Mary, how many female chiefs and sheriffs do we have now that are part of our group? It's a lot.
Yes, no chiefs is probably about 4.
Right. So we have 4 chiefs and 2 female sheriffs in Fairfax County and Arlington. So we got a lot of women representing in this area. So we've come a long way, as they like to say. At any rate, I'm going to close because I'm between us and the reception that's going to happen that Jose will tell you all about in a minute. But what we do every single day in the Arlington County Sheriff's Office, I always have said it's about the people. It's about the men and women that serve in that agency, that come to work every single day, treating people with dignity and respect. And that recognize that the people that are remanded to our custody and that we deal with every single day are not all bad people. Although, albeit, you get a few people that are bad people, but most of them are just people that made that made mistakes. Sometimes they make them over and over again, but they're not bad people. They're just people who made a mistake. And so it is our responsibility and our job to treat them with dignity and respect and to try to offer them an opportunity to leave our jail in a better place and return to our community as productive members of our society. And you're right, Christian, I have fought for that for the 22 years that I've been sheriff. I have fought for the men and women in the office who wear the uniform of sheriff because they're my people. And I care about them a lot. And I care about the fact that they need to be paid a good wage for a hard day's work. I care about the fact that they put themselves in harm's way every single day to do their job. People might not think about it as putting yourselves in harm's way when you're in a courtroom or maybe working inside of a jail where you do not have any weapons except being able to talk to people and, being able to communicate with people and IPC skills. So thank you all again for everything that you do. I can't say it enough how proud I am to have been able to serve with all of you for the last 36 years. You are amazing people. So I'm going to close with two things. One is to thank the citizens of Arlington County again for the opportunity to serve as sheriff. It's been amazing, and I have loved every single minute of it, every single day, except for the 2 years of COVID. But that's not been fun. I mean, I can't say I haven't loved a lot of it, but COVID has not been fun for corrections and law enforcement at all. But last week, we were out in Winchester, where Kenneth is now living, and we went in this ice cream shop. And don't cringe, Tom, I'm not going to read the entire book, I promise. Anyway, there was a Dr. Seuss quote on the wall from Oh, the Places You Will Go. And it said, sometimes you will never know the value of a moment until it becomes a memory. I have valued every moment for the past 36 years of working in the sheriff's office. And I will value how they will become a memory when I leave today. I walked out of my office, I was videotaping it, I was taking pictures along the way, and it was just super surreal. I came into that courthouse when we opened 28 years ago, or whatever it was when we came in there. Worked in the old courthouse, so it was pretty surreal, afternoon for me. But I will take the memories with me, and I look forward to continuing to be part of Arlington County's community. I'm not going anywhere. I will continue to volunteer and help our community in ways, that I want to do. I'm looking at my friend Betsy France back there. She's going, you go. So thank you all. I appreciate it. And where is Jose? I'm giving the table back to you.
So here we go. Thank you for joining us today. We are inviting all of you to join us at Fireworks Pizza at 2350 Clarendon Boulevard. Please join us. Please join Sheriff Arthur and her family. Thank you so much. Thank you.